Fourth Coach Conversations. I am the host, Michael Patrick Rooney, and this series, which we were so excited about, is brought to us by Netting Professionals. We want to say a special thank you to the guys at Netting Pros. Here's what Netting Pros does. They specialize in the design, fabrication, and installation of custom netting for college baseball programs all around the country. Next time your field or your facility needs something new, make sure to check out Netting Professionals. Will Miner and the guys, these guys love our sport, so supportive of it. And we were, well, happy Halloween, Eric. Thank you for that. Yes. And again, just to put a bow on that, the guys at Netting Pros have been awesome. And you know, they love this sport. We want to reciprocate their support. So, gentlemen, good evening. Happy Halloween. It's great to see you guys. For the uninformed, for the uninitiated, the people that have not tuned in, this is our fourth edition of Fourth Coach Conversations. Here's what we're doing. In college baseball, we have this wonky thing where the entry-level position is called the volunteer coach. But ironically, you're also the fourth member of the staff. I mean, you are literally coaching Division I athletes. You're the fourth coach on the staff. And the volunteer deal is the entry-level spot, but it's problematic. You know, you can't get a paycheck from the school. You can't get benefits from the school you're working at. You can't go out and recruit off campus, which is probably the most problematic situation. And so we wanted to start this series to give these guys some exposure because they're in the trenches doing the work. They're the future of our profession. And for me, I'm curious to get to know them better and see the kind of next wave of coaches. I was thinking about this today. I was exercising. I was thinking, okay, I was a volunteer way back in the day, 20 years ago at Arizona State. Did it for 18 months. And I was thinking, okay, who are some famous volunteers? And it took me like 3 seconds to think of Eric Bakich. Think about that 2002 Clemson coaching staff, the legend Jack Leggett, Kevin O'Sullivan, Tim Corbin, and Eric Bakich, who is tracking to be a Hall of Fame coach in college baseball, was the volunteer coach. So this is a chance to get to know these guys, get them some exposure, learn more about them, talk ball, and really just create some exposure around this position. So I'm going to go on the order of my screen, guys, and we'll keep the same order all night. And Kyle, you're first in my holster, so I'll start with you. So first, what I'd like to do, guys, going around the horn, is just give me a quick bullet point of your resume. Give me your hometown, where you played, high school, college, and your coaching stops, and where you are currently. I'd love to know how long you've been there currently. So go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, so my name is Kyle Cameron. I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and grew up there my whole life. And I played college baseball at the University of Alabama from 2016 until 2020. COVID was my last season. So I was a fifth-year senior then. And then for the sixth year I was at Alabama, which was last year, I was a graduate assistant coach. And then this year, I'm at Jacksonville State University, a Division I in Northeast Alabama, in between Birmingham and Atlanta. And I've only been here for about 3 months now. I got here first week of August.
Kyle, Alabama football fan your whole life, born and raised?
I mean, I kind of have to.
Can you hear me, Kyle?
You grow up with the football team.
Yeah,
I kind of have to be.
Okay, so let me.
Growing up with the football team.
I love it. Okay, so here's the follow-up question I wanted to ask you. So you know how much hard work went into Alabama making the NCAA tournament last year in baseball. Can you describe the scene where I'm assuming you guys all watched the selection show together? Can you describe the scene when you guys found out you were getting into the Ruston Regional?
We honestly did not know if we were going to get in or not. So it was just a lot of excitement. We were a little surprised. We weren't really sure if we had done enough or not, but we were just really excited. It had been a while since we'd made a regional, and it was just really exciting to do something like that together.
I love it. Those are the best, those selection show celebrations. Will, go ahead. You go next.
Will Hawks from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I went to Oakland High School, and then from there I played at Cumberland University for the legendary Woody Hunt. From there, I went and I coached with the Falmouth Commodores in the Cape Cod Baseball League. Then I was a graduate assistant at Austin Peay the COVID year. And then that summer, I came to Lipscomb, so July 2020. And I've been at Lipscomb for about a year and a half now.
Will, who'd you coach with in Falmouth? Who was the head coach at the time?
Jeff Trundy.
Oh, awesome. Speaking of, gosh, you've been around nothing but legends.
Yeah.
Woody Hunt. Give me one word. You can only pick one word to describe Coach Hunt. What are you going with?
Passionate. That's what I'm going with. He's the most
Yeah,
passionate coach I've ever been around.
That's awesome. The real word is legend, but yes, passionate is great. I love it. RD, go ahead.
My name is Ryan Day. I'm from Fullerton, California. I went to Fullerton High School. From there, I played baseball for 2 years at Fullerton Junior College, transferred to Concordia University in Irvine, where in 2011, we were fortunate enough to win a national championship. After finishing playing, got right into coaching, spent a year with the pitchers at Tustin High School, ended up going back to Concordia to get my master's degree as a graduate assistant, and then spent the last 4 years at Concordia as an assistant recruiting coordinator and pitching coach. From there, I moved to Long Beach in 2019 as a director of baseball operations. Spent 2 years in that position, transitioned to the volunteer role last year during COVID, and this will be my second year as a volunteer working with the catchers.
So RD, so you're Fullerton like through and through. Like, did you grow up a Titans fan, or no, not a Titans fan growing up?
That's a tough question to ask, man, because I knew I was going to get a lot of heat if I answer this question. When I first moved to Fullerton,
Pass.
I didn't have a lot of friends. My mom got free tickets to Titan games, so I grew up kind of going to a lot of those games, and that's honestly where I was able to kind of learn a different side of the game. Have a lot of respect for how they handled themselves in the early 2000s, and obviously they're a solid program, and fortunate enough to get to Long Beach where they had a similar style, a similar philosophy, and it was always a dream to be involved in that rivalry in some way or another, either as a player, but getting a chance to do it as a coach was pretty cool as well.
Oh gosh, such a great rivalry. I mean, yeah, and them playing in that 2017 Super. I mean, just yeah, everything about it. I love it. All in. Very good. Mick, go ahead.
My name is Mickey Beach. From a small town in upstate New York called Newfield. After high school, I played junior college ball at Tompkins Cortland Community College. A couple arm injuries I battled. I decided to hang them up. Moved down to South Carolina, got a job with Coastal Carolina, working with their baseball staff, a student assistant role. And they were fortunate enough, or I was fortunate enough, they brought me on for grad school, and I did a graduate assistant job for 2 years, and then COVID kind of delayed that. So they actually brought me back for another one. So I was fortunate enough to get 2 master's degrees out of the deal and work with them for about 5 years. And then one of our staff members from Coastal got a job at Longwood and brought me with him. So I just started this job in July, and so now I'm the volunteer here at Longwood, and I work with the infielders primarily.
Mickey, so where you said your hometown is Newfield, is that right?
Yeah, Newfield, New York.
What's that close to, or where in New York is that?
It's about 15 minutes from Ithaca. So Ithaca College and Cornell University is right there.
God, that feels like a very cold place.
Very cold.
Do people in Ithaca lean like Bills, Giants, Jets? Where do people from Ithaca lean?
A lot of Bills fans. A lot of Bills fans there.
That's great. Final question: do you have Dustin Johnson in your cell phone?
I do not have Dustin Johnson in my cell phone. I do not.
He's got to be the most famous Coastal alum, right? I mean, he'd be the most famous alum from a lot of schools.
Yeah, probably. He's up there. Josh Norman is another famous alum from Coastal too.
Right.
Yeah. So.
That's awesome. Hey, you might have said this. I apologize if you did. What was your first year at Coastal?
Fall of 2016. So right after the national championship, they hired me in August. So I got in there right after that. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I would imagine the year after, the whole place was still just buzzing from winning the national championship.
Yeah, it was cool. I was very jealous. Everybody kind of got that recognition and everything. I was kind of there like, oh, that's cool. But no, it was a cool time to be there.
That's great. Peyton, go ahead.
My name's Peyton McLemore. I born and raised Lake Charles, Louisiana. I played at McNeese from 17 to 19. Walked on my sophomore year of college. From there, finishing up a master's, Coach Hills, I was fortunate enough, he gave me a spot as the director of player development and analytics. And then last year was my first year as a volunteer, so I'll be going into my second year at McNeese.
So Peyton, I didn't realize you're Lake Charles through and through. That's awesome.
Born and raised, yes, sir.
Is there one like is Barb is how do you say it? Barbie High School? What's the famous high school for baseball?
Barb High School, yes, sir.
So the
I think
silent
they
E
won
at
like,
the end.
yes, sir. I think they won like their 11th state championship this past year.
And it's I can't believe I'm forgetting their names, but it's like an Italian name. Husband and wife coach the high school at Barb, right?
Glenn Cicchini.
And is his wife still involved with the program too? I feel like she was like through BP and stuff.
She does. She every time we're there, she's out there. She hits fungo. She hits some of the best fungo I've ever seen. Throws BP. I mean, she's in there all the time.
That's awesome. Both of their boys were high picks, and oh, that's so cool. Is there many high schools in Lake Charles, or pretty much if you're from there, you're going to Barb High School?
So if you're from Lake Charles, it's usually Barb. With Sam Houston is Moss Bluff, which is like 20 miles north. Sulphur, just off of the other side of the bridge right there, and then St. Louis is one of the private schools. I'd say those are the 4 big schools around here.
Got it. Awesome.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
that's great. Very good. Cool. All right, boys, let's keep working around the horn. Hey, if you don't mind, try to remember to mute yourself when you're not going. That way we keep the audio as clean as possible. And if you speak when you're muted, I'll let you know. So Kyle, coming back to you, give me the areas of the game that you would say are areas that you can teach, depending on where you played, or, is it pitching, catching, is it, base running, hitting, whatever it is. So areas that you feel like would be your areas of expertise. Go ahead, Kyle.
So number one would be pitching. I was a right-handed pitcher, and this year I'm working with the pitchers and the catchers. So kind of being a pitcher, I kind of understand what a catcher is supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing, what they're supposed to look like, what the pitchers like to see from the catchers. So I think that's an aspect of the game that I'm starting to work with this year, and I've had a really good time with it so far.
What was your pitch, Kyle? Like what's the pitch that you feel most confident teaching?
The changeup.
Love it.
But 100%.
Is it? Are your beliefs on the changeup? Well, let's come back to it. We'll come back to changeup.
Okay. All right.
Will, go ahead.
I would say pitchers. That's what I was in college, and out at Lipscomb, I work with pitchers and outfielders, so I feel pretty confident working with both of those.
So you were a right-handed pitcher or left-handed pitcher?
Right-handed pitcher. I was kind of a low 3/4, like sidearm guy.
Nice. And how old were you when you converted your arm to that slot?
I think it was my junior year of high school, senior year of high school, one of those two.
Was it because of an injury, or some coach said, "Hey, I think you can do this," or what? What was the origin story?
It was because of an injury.
Got it. Oh, that's beautiful. That's great. Go ahead, RD. What do you got?
Number one, I'd probably say pitchers. Catchers would be second. Feel very fortunate as a pitching guy to be around Coach Valenzuela. Is one of the best in the nation as far as pitch calling is concerned, and I feel like I've learned a lot from him. And if I had to pick a third one, I'm nowhere near the knowledge of Brian Peters, our hitting coach, but he's brought a philosophy from the East Coast to the West Coast and kind of blended the two together, and it's just been really fun just kind of being in the cage with him and learning the way he's teaching our guys. So nowhere near close enough to be able to feel comfortable teaching it, but for sure probably pitching number one.
That's right. Coach Peters has got Florida roots or something like that. Is that correct?
That's correct. He was from Central Florida. He's been at a lot of different places, really well connected, really well known. That's
great. Go ahead, Mickey.
I pitched and played corner infield in junior college, but ever since I've moved into a coaching role, I've always done infield. I'm pretty passionate about infield defense, so I've really submerged myself into that.
Love it. Go ahead, Peyton.
Pitching. So I'm kind of in a little different situation here. We actually don't have a pitching coach on the staff. Coach Hill is the pitching guy, and he's actually given me the freedoms to just kind of run with the pitching staff. So I guess I have the label of pitching coach here right now.
That's awesome. Peyton, Coach Hill pitched at LSU, right? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep. For Skip, or did he miss Skip?
Skip. Yes, sir. He played for Skip for maybe 1 or 2, and then he coached with Smoke.
Smoke?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smoke Laval. That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Very cool. All right, guys, so let's keep whipping around. Same kind of subject area. So what I want you to do is take one aspect of your areas of expertise And like Kyle, you could do pitching in general. You could be the changeup, whatever it is. But try and summarize, that area in 3 sentences or less. Give me some core, like just really, I corner you in a dark alley and I say, give me 3 things on your most passionate area. Go for
it. So I'll just go with pitching as a whole. I think the number one thing with every guy that has good command is it all starts with your direction to your target. And it sounds a little elementary, but it really does stick with 8-year-olds, and it can stick with 30-year-olds. If everything's going to your target and everything in your delivery is taking you towards your target, you're going to have a better chance of throwing it there. So that would be my number one. My number two would be you have to be able to find a delivery for you that is repeatable. If you can't repeat that delivery or get as close to repeating that delivery as you can, you're going to have a hard time having success because you're not going to remember what a good pitch felt like. And then the last thing would be the changeup. I think it is the most effective pitch in baseball, and you can throw it in any count if you have the command for it. And I think it's very versatile. You can get it as a swing and miss pitch, or you can just use it as a pitch that is just getting hitters timing off your fastball. So I really love the changeup, and I think any pitcher should have a changeup in their back pocket of some sort.
I love it. Yeah, the changeup's about to make a comeback in professional baseball. I feel like the analytics people have kind of fallen asleep on the changeup, but I think it's about to make a comeback. So I love it. Go ahead, Will.
I'm going to go pitching overall. I'd say the first thing is move efficiently, and the better you move, the more strikes and the better pitcher you're going to be. I'm a big proponent in just how you move in your hips, your upper bodies, and all that. Number two, I would say compete in your catch play every single day. I mean, so many pitchers just don't realize that your catch play is where you're making all your differences at. I mean, what we started doing here is we take a plate, and so each pitcher has their own plate, and so they're working on just throwing every single ball they're throwing a catch play over the plate every single day. Just a good visual like that. And then number three, my big thing's a slider. Like, I feel like I could really, really teach a guy a slider. So, I'll agree with Kyle. The right on right changeup is the best pitch in baseball.
Oh gosh, yeah. If you asked hitters if you could outlaw the right on right changeup, that you get a lot of yes votes. They don't like that at all. That's awesome. Ryan, go ahead.
I'll stick with catching. Number one, you got to be energetic and enthusiastic about catching. You have to love the position. Mm-hmm. Number two, you have to be an elite communicator with the umpire, the pitcher, and your coach. And then number three is you have to be selfless to play the position.
Love it. Go ahead, Mickey.
I'm going to stick with infield. I would say own your lane. Anything one big step to your left or right, you got to own your lane and make the routine plays routine. Number 2 and 3 are simple. Throw the ball where you want it to go. And number 3, catch the ball when it comes your direction. Kind of simplify the game and, handle the baseball at a high level.
Love it. Peyton?
I'm going to stick with the pitching. My biggest one is be very intentional with everything that you do. Know your warm up, know your cool down, know everything you got to do. Second one would be commanding the fastball to the glove side. I think the best pitch in baseball is a fastball away. I think it's the hardest pitch to hit. If you do it over and over again, it elevates your game every step of the way. And then my third one, I'm a big cutter guy. I never had a changeup. It's probably why I never got to start. So the cutter is my go-to.
Oh, I love it. Hey, let me. I got one kind of personalized question for each of you guys. So, Kyle, starting with you, tell me about the changeup. Is it grip? Is it intent? Is it, I've heard people talk about doing stuff with their toes as a way to, keep arm speed up. But yeah, tell me, boil down the changeup to me as far as if I was a young pitcher and I wanted to master the changeup. What's that take?
Honestly, you just have to replicate your fastball delivery, and you have to be able to throw that with the same intent. Sometimes coaches will say, like, throw it as hard as you can. And there's some truth to that. I just like to think, have really good hand speed, and then just let the rest kind of follow from there. If I have really good hand speed and I'm finishing that pitch as aggressively as I am a fastball, it's going to really sell that to the hitter.
Yeah. Kyle, what about grips? So I've heard a million pitching coaches say, hey, you got to just fiddle around with grips until you find one that works. But it just, that feels kind of, that's tough instructions to me because like, hey, it probably stinks when I first do it. How do I know when I just literally have my hands on a terrible changeup or I just am on my way to a good changeup? Does that make sense?
It does. To always start, I just like to change up to just take your fastball grip and to literally throw that same pitch, but throw it with your middle two fingers. And
Yeah.
from there, you can kind of adjust around your index finger, your pinky, your thumb, whatever's comfortable. And that can also affect how hard or soft the pitch is too. But as far as comfort, I always like to think, throw that fastball, but just throw it with your middle two fingers.
Yep. Awesome. All right. So Will, you can pick off, I've got several questions around kind of like, I just love, especially having coached on the West Coast, I love like the unique, as John Manuel of Baseball America used to call it, the low slot jokers. But so there's a lot to it, right? Like, hey, I feel like how do you approach a pitcher with that transition? Because that's not the news most people want to get. What does a coach look for? Like, I always thought like, a kid's probably got to be a pretty good athlete to pull that off. And then what does it take to actually make that adjustment? So you go anywhere you want with it, but I think I'm surprised more staffs don't have the unique slot guys. I feel like a lot of teams don't have it, and it feels like kind of an underutilized weapon.
Yeah, I think first it takes just a lot of athleticism. I mean, usually I think it's more infielders that are able to do it than really anything else. Like if you're an infielder and you pitch a little bit. Um, I think secondly, it's just how you approach it. Like it's not many guys do it, so you're like, all right, I got to take ownership. I need to be that guy on this staff. And I think the best example in college baseball was David Berg and Tyler Rogers. They were two sidearm submarine guys, and they led the country in saves. And so, I mean, it's definitely able to contribute a lot for staffs, and I think it's just so undervalued in today's game.
So Rogers is the kid from Kentucky that's on the Giants right now, right? Is that correct?
No, Tyler Rogers is the one from Austin P. His
And
brother's the one with the twins.
Okay, gotcha. Is the one from Austin P the guy that's in the big leagues with the Giants, or that's his brother?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay, gotcha. Oh gosh, dang, it's a family of them. Who knew?
Yeah.
Gotta love it. All right, so Ryan, here's my question for you. You grew up around the Fullerton, Long Beach thing. So if I said to you, what is West Coast baseball? How do you describe that unique style that you guys play? Maybe it's more modernized now under Coach Valenzuela and Coach Peters. But when people say, "Hey, tell me about Big West baseball and all that stuff," how would you describe it?
Well, I think we try to stay away from using the term small ball. I think
Yeah,
that's kind of the misconception that it's always about bunting. I don't think it's really about that on the West Coast as much as it is just trying to play fundamental team baseball. It's emphasis on executional hitting, being really good at running the bases, understanding your situational hitting, which falls under the category of executional hitting. From a pitching standpoint, your pitchers are going to be able to command three different pitches for strikes, and you're going to play defense. You're going to be very athletic defensively. So like West Coast baseball may be a little bit different where, the value of having an athletic third baseman is a high priority in the Big West Conference because you're going to be facing a lot of teams that might like to go to the inside game. That
yeah,
all of your pitchers on your staff have to be 1-3 or below because any team is going to be able to run the bases at a high level, whether it's Irvine, Santa Barbara, Fullerton. So I would say more of that than anything else. It's just pitching, defense, and executional hitting.
yeah. I love it. I think also traditionally the Southern California player is so instinctive. It just feels like the game moves slower. I'm generalizing, but the game seems to move slower for those kids. Just remember playing against those great Fullerton, Long Beach teams. I mean, just and they played so clean and they were not going to give you anything. Yeah, it's awesome. Mickey, tell me about why. I mean, in this day and age, Coastal Carolina won a national championship in baseball 5 years ago. This is a very broad question. You go anywhere you want. How in the heck did that happen?
Well, it depends who you ask. I know, being in the program what Coach Gilmore preaches and the things that he teaches to his players is, love each other first, and the rest will take care of itself. You hear it from the outside, and it just kind of sounds like one of those things that people say, but really being in the program, they do kind of function at a different level, and they think a different way, and they really do love each other, and I really think that that group of guys, and I'm fortunate I'm close with a lot of those guys from that national championship team, and they talk to each other on a daily basis, and they're best friends, and they're best man and groomsmen at each other's weddings, and I think that that bond was something that really carried them to the end that year.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, and Coach Gilmore's such a special person. Just he is what a trailblazer. Unique, and yeah, that he's so passionate. Just emotional, passionate. He's awesome. So yeah, that's good stuff. Peyton, tell me. I had a McNeese question for you. We can come back to that, but tell me about the cutter. How do you teach me a cutter?
It's really different for every guy, in my opinion. The easiest way for me to do it, I just tell them, grip your fastball, cock the ball a little bit, think about getting it on the middle finger, more pressure on the middle finger, and just throw it as hard as you can. That's really the biggest thing for me. Just give them the freedom to play around with it. Some guys hate it. Some guys love it. Some guys, it kind of turns into a slider. It's just something to add to everybody's arsenal.
Yeah. Do you find that there's certain arm swings that lend themselves more to the cutter than others, or is it hard to generalize like that?
More times over the top guys seems to tunnel better with the fastball. The guys that kind of get to the low 3/4, it's kind of hard for them to get on top of it enough to kind of get the velocity that you're looking for. It's kind of more of a slider, be bigger and loopier. But no, yeah, usually the over the top guys are kind of the guys that you look for to teach them something like that.
Yeah, awesome. All right, cool. Let's keep working around. So Kyle, starting with you, here's the question. Let's just think about recruiting. Obviously, you guys are not getting to get on the road and recruit, but you're allowed to be involved in recruiting. You're in the recruiting meetings, I'm sure. And so you were recruited, or you've been around players that have been recruited. So here's the question. And let's go 3 ideas or less, 3 sentences or less. But what is winning in recruiting look like? You can go anywhere you guys want with this, but 3 sentences or less. What does winning in recruiting look like?
Okay, I'll keep it pretty simple. Number 1 is you have to have the players that are athletic and have the ability to play for you. Number 2, which is the biggest thing in my opinion, is you're recruiting your culture for your program. And you need guys that believe in themselves, that believe that they can win. And if you do that consistently, you're going to have a really good culture. And then number 3 is, it kind of builds off number 2, but guys that are selfless, guys that don't really care about their own personal achievements and statistics as much as they do of actually winning for the program. And just really being a teammate that's an accountable. They hold each other accountable, and they're responsible, and they take care of their stuff off the field, and just being a good person.
Yep. Do you feel like, Kyle, that recruiting kids from winning programs is a really huge part of that? Or is it more, I think about my Notre Dame football fandom. Tim Brown didn't win a football game in high school as a quarterback. They went like 0-10 his senior year, and guy won the Heisman Trophy. So clearly he figured it out. But do you feel like kids from winning programs have an advantage in that area?
I really do. You have to have the past to kind of know what that feeling's like, and to kind of build confidence. It's really hard to kind of get that going if you haven't really done it before. So I think there is a little bit of truth to that.
Yeah, love it. Will, same question. What does winning in recruiting look like? What does winning recruiting look like?
I think number 1 is you got to find guys that fit your scheme. Everybody plays the game a little bit different. Everybody teaches it a little bit different. And I think if you get the right guys in your system, no matter if their talent levels are a little bit lower, I think if you teach the game the right way, you're going to win. Number 2, I think it's you got to find guys who really love to develop, guys who, because especially for us, we're a mid-major, we're not always going to get that Power 5 caliber guy. You got to have guys who want to be at the ballpark 24/7, just love getting after it. And I think 3 kind of ties into number 2, just guys that simply love the game, that just want to come in the office, talk about baseball, talk about how their outing went, and just things like that. I think that's, to me, that's what winning in recruiting looks like.
Love it. Ryan.
First off, I think you got to build through the middle. That's most important. Secondly, obviously, you got to get your type of guy that fits what your program is about. And then lastly, he has to check both boxes on and off the field. I mean, just listening to the recruiting guys or the recruiting talks that we've had now, guys who tend to be a headache off the field prior to their arrival on campus usually become your biggest headaches once they get here. So not just checking the box on the field, but also checking the box off the field as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Love it. Mickey, go ahead.
First, I would say, our head coach, Coach Jackson, always says it's a lifetime commitment, not just a 4-year commitment. So he really wants, the recruit to understand that, after 4 years, you're still part of this program. That kind of ties into, you're the way you play the game and the kind of person you are. And, we want them to understand that. Number 2, we want people who want to be with us too. We don't want we don't want to be the second choice or the third choice. So, we want to recruit the players that want to be here with us also. And number 3, simple, just recruit good people. At the end of the day, they've got to be good, brothers and fathers and future doctors, lawyers, baseball players, whatever it is. So, we really want to make sure that we recruit good people.
Love it. Peyton, go ahead.
I think the biggest thing is showing that you can win on the field. I think winning on the field and showing that the coaching staff that you're going to play for, you can trust them, that they know what they're doing, that they've created this, that you've got this culture and this brand that people want to come and play at this mid-major school. That, I mean, we don't have the fancy stuff. We don't have all the big stands, all the jerseys, but we win and we do it again. And when we keep building off of that, and it's just something that people want to do. And we look for those guys that they're good on the field. They're good off the field. They're good people. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Just good people in general.
Peyton, don't undersell those uniforms you guys have now. Come on. Those baby blues. I mean, those are legit. Let's go.
We've got a couple cool ones.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. That's awesome. All right, boys, let's keep whipping around. So this can be from your coaching career or from your playing career. And it doesn't even have to be college. It can be before that. But you can only tell me about one team that you've been part of. So I'm basically saying, tell me about your favorite team that you've been a part of, coaching or playing, and why was that team so special? Go ahead, Kyle.
I would have to just go with last year. Alabama had some years where we had struggled, and just kind of working to build that program back to a winning program. And when you finally get into the postseason, it's just, it's something that we missed out on for about 5 or 6 years, and we were just really fighting to get back. And then just kind of seeing a team continuously get better every year, and then finally kind of breaking through and getting what we've been trying to get back for 5 or 6 years. That was really just a fun thing to be a part of last year.
Kyle, I think what's even more impressive about, first of all, the league that you guys did that in, that's one thing, right? There's nobody that's kind of pressing pause in the SEC to say, hey, come on by, you can take my spot up here. They're just sprinting. But you guys lose Connor Prelip, who in 2020 was unhittable. Was there like a moment in that season where you guys realized that, hey, Connor is not going to be part of this? And it feels like his injury could make or break a season, and clearly you guys did not let it break you.
Yeah, Connor is a great pitcher, and we kind of realized about halfway through the year that we weren't going to really see him anymore. But that just made it even more, a more memorable season, because we had to have guys step up. And when that happens, we also lost another weekend starter last year. So we're out really 2 of our 3 weekend starters, and every Sunday it's just TBA. We just don't know whoever's left is going to pitch, and we just had to have guys step up, and that's kind of just what made it so fun. Just kind of taking it day by day, and everybody doing their job and doing what's asked of them when their time came.
Love it. Go ahead, Will. You can tell me about one team you've been part of.
I'm going to say summer 2019 when I was in Falmouth. That was really my first coaching experience outside of being a player. And I mean, the environment that Coach Trundy sets for those guys, I mean, in summer ball, it's just different with him. It's more about relationships. It's more about just becoming a better person than it really is winning. And I think that really translated over to winning for us. I mean, we won like 11 straight games at one point, which was a quarter of our season in the summer. So I'd say that team that's a standard for me as a team. Just the amount of fun that those guys had every single day is just incredible.
Was there a headliner on that team? Who was the Cape has always got the famous guys.
We had Zach DeLoach from Texas A&M and then Carmen Majinski from South Carolina.
Oh, nice. Love it. Go ahead, RD.
I would have to pick my last year of college at Concordia. We won a national championship. We were probably a 500 club halfway through the season or so, and something changed. There was a conversation within the team about holding each other more accountable for things, both on the field and off the field. And we ripped off like something like 25 of our last 28 en route to winning a national championship. And when I think back to that team, I think about the role that the bench players played, as far as just everybody kind of knew their job within the system. They may not have been happy with it, but they came to work every day and they did their job and they were supportive of the team. Maybe they wanted to be in the lineup, but they weren't. And then the last thing was just how much fun. I mean, we were playing for a national title and the environment in the dugout was so loose. It was one game to win it all. And you would have never known that there's 25, 26 guys, fighting for a championship just because of how relaxed and loose we were in that moment. So it's not anything you can replicate as a coach, but it's just something that you try to remember from a good team that you're a part of and try to instill at least the accountability part on the teams that you're a part of.
Was that in Lewiston, Idaho, Ryan?
It was, yeah.
Who'd you guys beat?
We beat Lubbock Christian at the time, who was another team that ended up transitioning into Division II.
Got it. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Did you guys get rings, or what'd you guys get as part of the championship?
Yeah, they're pretty gaudy. We got some rings that are similar to like the Phillies World Series ring from back in 2009. They're pretty big. Yeah.
So it's just the kind of thing you wear to the laundromat or the grocery store. Or what?
I haven't worn it in a long time. I used to wear it all the time.
That's great. I love it. Mick, go ahead. One team you've been part of. Tell me about it.
I would say 2019 at Coastal. We started off really hot. I think we got up to like 12 in the country, and then we kind of hit a skid throughout the rest of the year. And we hosted the conference tournament that year, and we lost the first game. And it was like, oh no, what happened? And then we ended up winning 5 in a row in the next 4 days, and we hit like 31 home runs. We averaged 11 runs a game, and we just kind of our offense exploded, and every inning in that dugout was nail biting, and it was really cool to see the guys kind of pull together and really see things start clicking for them. And that week of the conference tournament was pretty unbelievable in 19.
Parker Chavers, was he hurt at the time, or was he healthy for that team?
No, he got hurt that year. We played in the Seattle Showcase out at Safeco or T-Mobile now, and he fell down the stairs and dislocated his shoulder, so he was out for that whole year.
Oh man! And 2018 was the year you guys hosted the regional that Washington won, correct? The year before.
Yep. 2018 we hosted.
That's great. Very good. Peyton, go ahead.
I would have to say last year's team. I probably goes without saying. I mean, these guys got 2 weeks of a fall, had to go through 2 hurricanes, and they showed up in late November, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, put their pants on, we played at 7 different high school fields before we got to play at our own field. We didn't get on our field till like the first week of February, and not a single person complained. Nobody made any excuses. They showed up every day. They got changed in their cars. They showed up. They worked, and we started off pretty slow. Kind of looked like we just weren't in baseball shape like the other guys, and they never wavered. They showed up every day. They just worked their butts off, and they got hot at the right time. And I mean, I think it's a pretty damn cool story. So
really cool. What was your guys' seed in the conference tournament, Peyton?
7
Oh
seed.
my.
We halfway through,
only 8
we
make it, right?
fighting. Yes, sir. We halfway through conference, we weren't even in it, and had had a trip to Central Arkansas, split with them, and got in and punched our ticket and got hot at the right time.
So almost down the stretch, you guys are still fighting to even get in the conference tournament.
Yes, sir. I think 2 weekends before Central Arkansas, we had Nichols coming to us, and we had a coaches meeting, and none of them will tell you this, but we're all just nervous because if we don't start playing well, we're not playing. We got hot, swept them, and just kind of kept the train going. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, Kyle, coming back to you. Let's whip around with this question. So you're going for a job interview, a mythical job interview. Who are your 3 references that you want me to call? If I'm the person that potentially is hiring you, give me your 3 references.
So my first one would be my current head coach now, Coach Jim Case. He's been at Jacksonville State for 20 years. He's had a ton of success, and he would definitely be my first one. Number 2, I would tell you to call Brad Bohannon at the University of Alabama. Mm-hmm. He's kind of done a really good job of turning that program around. And my last one would be Mitch Gaspard. He was my head coach as a freshman. He kind of recruited me, and now he's over at Louisiana Tech, and they've done a great job. But those would be my 3.
That's awesome. Good list. Go ahead, Will.
Number 1, I would say my college coach, Woody Hunt. Number 2, I would say Grayson Crawford. He's our pitching coach at Lipscomb. He's kind of the reason I got hired at Austin Peay and kind of got me into Division I baseball. And number 3, I would say our current head coach at Lipscomb, Jeff Forehand. He's been an awesome guy, and I've learned so much from him. I couldn't ask for a better head coach to be around.
That's awesome. How'd you know Coach Crawford, just from growing up in the area?
No, actually, I just applied at Austin Peay to be the GA, and it just happened to be that he liked my resume, and we just kind of went from there. And I interviewed literally 3 days before school started, and that's
awesome.
So it was pretty cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, and I probably wouldn't get to a second and third call. Coach Hunt would probably knock it down for you. So, but it's good to have a second or third in case Coach Hunt doesn't answer. So, love it. Go ahead, Ryan.
Number 1 would have to be obviously Coach Valenzuela. Working for him the last couple years have been great. He's well connected. Secondly, I'm going to stay on our same staff, Brian Peters, just because of the fact that he's got connections to a different coast, and I think that's valuable to get an opinion of a guy who's been somewhere else. And then lastly, my previous boss, Joe Turgeon, at Concordia. He's actually an ex-Titan and another guy that has helped me a long way in my career as far as connecting me to the right people. And I wouldn't be at Long Beach today if it wasn't for his words getting my foot in the door. So he would be my 3rd.
Beautiful. Go ahead, Mickey.
I would say number 1, Chad Oxendine. He's the head coach here at Longwood. He was at Coastal with me before. Just an awesome guy. He's got a lot of connections. He's been all over coaching baseball the last 16 years. Number 2, I'd say Kevin Schnall. He's the associate head coach at Coastal. Incredible mentor to me. Kind of took me under his wing and kind of showed me the ropes a little bit. And then Gary Gilmore would be my 3rd one, head coach at Coastal. And I think his resume speaks for himself, and I'd like to think a phone call from him would help me out a lot.
I think it's got some juice. Hey, I didn't know, Mickey, that Coach Ox had Coastal ties. What was his background at Coastal?
So he played at Coastal. He graduated in 2004, went back as the volunteer in 11 and 12, worked his way around a little bit, and then he came back in 17 as our director of player development, and he was there for 4 years, and then he was previously the recruiting coordinator at Longwood, and then after Coastal for 4 years, came back to Longwood as the head coach. Got it. Love it. Good. Peyton, go ahead.
My first one would be Justin Hill. I wouldn't be sitting here on this call without him. He coached me for the time I was a player, and then getting to coach underneath him. I can't thank him enough for everything that he's given me. The second one would probably be Jimmy Rickelson. He's our recruiting coordinator right now. He's been in the game for a long time. I feel like he knows somebody from every school across the country, from every level. And then the third one would probably be Corey Barton. He was my pitching coach my first year as a player. Since then, he's been at La Tech, Rice, and I think he's at Mercer right now. So those would be my 3.
That is a great list. Coach Rickelson, you're right, he knows somebody everywhere, and everyone that's ever met him likes him. He is just good people. Love
yeah.
him.
Oh yeah.
That's great. That's really good. All right, boys. So here's the next question. So I want you to think about programs you've played against or coached against. And, I think that's part of what we're doing when we're coaching is when we're playing is we're looking at the way other programs do things. And you're thinking, dang, I really like the way they do that. And so that's what I'm looking for. Like I might say, hey, I love the way Cal State Fullerton did an awesome job with just medium velocity right-handers. They never had a guy throw 95, but they were always really difficult. Their fastball command was just, epic. So that's what I'm looking for. It could be base running, hitting, whatever it is. Culture, it could even be. But give me a program that you've faced in your career, player or coach, and an aspect of that program that really you think about as, kind of being elite. Go ahead, Kyle.
That's kind of a tough question because I've played against a lot of good teams, but I'm gonna kind of veer a little bit, and I'm gonna say Southern Miss in 2016. They've had a really good offense for a while, and they've really done a really good job as a mid-major program. But there's something about that 2016 year. We go to their place, and it was like offensively, it's like if you threw a strike, they were going to hit it hard. They were just so aggressive. It's like you couldn't just start them off with 0-1, try to get ahead. They were coming at you at the plate, and they were making sure that like anytime they're in that box, that their presence was going to be felt. And I just think that really stood out because like we as a pitching staff, we honestly had no answer, and it was just. Looking back, that's something I really appreciate about an offense is like, you're aggressive. You're not like, this is our plate. We're going to attack that zone as soon as you throw something in here. And that was something that really stood out.
Did you, Kyle, play those guys in Hattiesburg or you played them in Tuscaloosa?
So we played them in Hattiesburg that year. And that was just a tough game. They took it to us, and, it was just a big environment for them. They packed the stadium out, and
sure,
they really swung the bat that night.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's on my bucket list, Hattiesburg for college baseball. I've not been to USM, but it sounds amazing.
That's a great place.
Yep. Go ahead, Will.
I'm going to say Coach Vitello at Tennessee this past year when we went up there and played him in a midweek game. I mean, it was just they just had a presence that when you walk in the ballpark, it's almost like it's their park, and you got to do everything you possibly can perfect that night to beat them. And it was a dogfight for us last year, but we were able to come out on top. And it was just every single player, just the edge, the competitiveness that they all have. It's pretty remarkable.
Gosh, yeah. It's funny. Coach Vitello, I think and there's other guys that have done it, like Kevin O'Sullivan never really got to be a head coach before what he's done at Florida, which is remarkable. Corb's a little bit at Presbyterian, but, in the modern era, Tony Vitello, the really modern era, for him having no head coaching experience and that being a serious, gap on people's resume for the bigger jobs. I mean, from everything about what he's done at Tennessee, from putting together an unreal staff and creating the culture. And you're right. I mean, they reminded me kind of Miami football in the 80s, just like lots of scraps and, Coach Kivett throwing his binder in Omaha. Oh, so great. That's a great call, Will. I love it. Ryan, go ahead.
I'm not saying this because we open up with them, but probably Mississippi State. We had a chance in the COVID shortened year to play them in 2020, and their energy is just something that it's tangible. You can feel it when they like to seize the opportunity when they're either behind in a game or ahead in the game, and you can feel the momentum start to shift. And then you watched them on their run this past year, and I mean, they're one of those teams that when it gets going their way, it's like a snowball effect, and it's just the energy becomes contagious from one hitter to the next hitter to the next hitter, and you're just fighting to keep it, try to get it stopped. So that's something that, in practice every day, Coach V's preaching energy and enthusiasm and try to seize those opportunities in games. But that's definitely something that I've admired, at least from the opportunity to get a chance to compete against them.
Oh, that's awesome. Really good. Go ahead, Mick.
I would say Louisiana Lafayette with Coach Robichaux. Every time we played Lafayette, it felt like it was Game 7 of the World Series. For whatever reason, Every game was like 1-0, 2-1, 4-3. They grinded at bats. We had no solution for what they were trying to do. They laid down a bunt in the seventh inning with 2 outs, just completely unexpected, and ended up having a 2-run inning. So the way that those guys played for Coach Robichaux when he was there was pretty incredible, and I really enjoyed going to Lafayette. It's probably one of my favorite places to go that I've been in college baseball.
Yeah, gosh, do we miss Coach Robes and yeah, Lafayette. That's another place on my bucket list. Just looks like an incredible environment. Boy, that's an excellent pull, Mick. Go ahead, Peyton.
I'm actually going to have to go with Southeastern Louisiana. I think Coach Reiser does a really good job with the player he brings in. They do a really good job of applying pressure. Every out, you're just gasping and hoping that there's no time to relax when you're playing a team like that. And it's just they do a really good job of doing everything right. They play the game the right way, and you've got to beat them. Like, they're not going to beat themselves. You've got to beat them, and you've got to finish them.
That's awesome. Do you find that their base running game really can be a handful for your pitchers? Like, that's a lot to try and make pitches with that stuff going on behind you.
Oh yeah, it's tough. You got to do a really good job controlling the running game, making your pitches, doing all the little things right, because they like to run and they will run all over you.
Love it. All right, so boys, let's keep working through here. Kyle, and some of you guys have only been in your place a few months, and that's okay. You're kind of taking a guess, but I'm looking for one player to look out for in 2022. Could be your most famous player, could be your best player, could be a player that just you feel like's had a great fall. But give me a player to look out for in 2022 from Jack State.
I'm going to have to go with a freshman. His name is AJ Causey, and he is a two-way player. And I think right now we're almost done with the fall, but I'm pretty sure he has our second highest batting average and our second lowest ERA. So this guy's just an all-around stud. Great hitter. He throws submarines, so he's probably going to throw some big relief innings for us. And he's just very confident, very good ball player.
What's his hometown? Where's he from? What area?
He's from Sparkman, Alabama.
Got it. I'm not familiar with Sparkman, Alabama, but here we go. That's great. That's awesome. Go ahead, Will.
I'm going to go Caleb Cantola. He's a junior right-handed pitcher for us. He transferred from Kemketa Community College in Oregon. He's a big, tall, 6'5" right-handed guy with a 4-pitch mix, and I think right now he's probably third, maybe in FIP for our team this fall. So he's somebody to really look out for.
Love it. And I love that you guys are keeping FIP in the fall. That makes sense. That's a better predictive tool. Well done. Ryan, go ahead.
I'd have to say Chase Luttrell. He's a COVID junior, left-handed hitting first baseman, outfielder. We got really lucky to get him back. Thought that there was some draft risk last year for him, and he went out to the Cape and got that experience out there, and he's been great for us this fall. Hit 8 home runs last year, going to hit somewhere in the middle of the lineup for us this year, and good leader, good on and off the field, the type of kid that if you had a daughter, you would let him marry your daughter.
Awesome. Go ahead, Mick.
I would say Hunter Gillum. He's a junior for us, first baseman. He hit 450 in the fall, slugged 715. Awesome person. He's going to end up being one of our captains this year. He's a local guy. They call him the mayor around the town. Just an awesome person. Really, works his ass off. Really grinds for us, and I think he's going to have a really big year for us.
Oh, that's beautiful. Would you say what position will he play for you guys?
First base.
Perfect. Go ahead, Peyton.
I'm going to go with Peyton Harden. He is I believe he's a COVID junior now, center fielder. May very well be the fastest guy in the country. He's just a spark plug, top of the lineup guy. This year, I'm expecting him to just put everything together and just kind of be the focal point of our offense. And he's just a good leader, good kid on the field, off the field. Everybody loves him. Everybody wants to be around him. And Payday's just a guy that everybody wants to have on their team.
Payday's his nickname. How good is that?
Payday. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Gentlemen, this was so fun. This was so great, and we've been really light on pitching conversation, and we were breaking down pitches tonight. This was so great. So hey, I'm going to give you guys some homework because we got a little text thread going. So because I don't want to rush this in. So the homework is, I think when we're young coaches and even when we're old coaches, we're always looking for ways to learn, grow. Leadership is not like we're always a work in progress. And so I want you to, in our thread, send me one. I'm a huge podcast listener, but I'm going to go with a book. In my day job, I'm reading this book with some kind of up and coming leaders in our company. John Maxwell, Develop the Leader Within You. It's the 2.0 version, but it's really the same book. This is my favorite leadership book. It's got great examples, but I want you guys to do that in our text thread, and I'll share it on Twitter when we get all our answers. But either a podcast that you like that's coaching growth, leadership growth, or a book that you've read recently. That's what I'm looking for. So that's our homework. But again, thank you guys so much. This was great. I loved getting to know you better. And some of you guys I didn't know all that well, which is great. Also want to say thank you to our presenting sponsor, Netting Professionals. This thing doesn't happen without those guys. We're so appreciative of what they've put into this and them supporting not only this show, but also the sport of college baseball. So gentlemen, happy Halloween. It's been a pleasure. Listeners, we will catch you next Sunday night. We're going every Sunday all the way through the end of the year. And that is it. Have a good night, you guys, and we'll catch everybody next week. Boom. Hardy the Hack Guy wants to hear the podcast we listened to. Boys, CJ, are we done recording?